What's up, guys? It's Dan from Coin Bureau Trading, back at it again with another crypto market update. Today we've got Virtuals, Hyperliquid, and the FTT token, like FTX's exchange token. These three cryptos are three that a lot of people have been interested in over the last couple of days, and I'm sure you're all wondering, why are some of these pumping? Why is everyone into these cryptos? Are they going to go higher? Are they going to go lower? If this is the kind of content that you enjoy, then be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ping that notification bell. Just do keep in mind, guys, before we get started, that nothing in this video is financial advice. It's just my personal analysis of these cryptos. Your analysis might be different, and honestly, guys, if it is, that's awesome. As I've been saying, and as I will continue to say, the more difference of opinion we have, the better investors, the better traders we're all going to become. So with that being said, let's jump straight into it and start asking, okay, why is Virtuals popping off? And to be honest, guys, I think some people are gonna, have some hate in the comments when I say this, but I would say that Virtuals is basically like the pump.fun for AI agents. Like pump.fun is like for meme coins on Solana. Virtuals is basically pump.fun for AI agents on Base. And I would say that they're basically the same. I would say that they both kind of have the same lifespan, let's say. Of course, there are a few, I know like a few AI agents that have done really well, like AI agent cryptos that have been launched with Virtuals, I mean. And I know that there's a lot of interesting stuff going on there, but I don't necessarily think that this is a trend that's going to continue. I think that it's something that's very hot, like right now in the moment, and I think that this is actually reflected quite clearly in the chart for the virtual token. So as you can see here, guys, I didn't draw any kind of like percentage gains or losses or anything here, because it looks like Virtual is basically hitting its local top, I think. Some of you guys might recall when we last covered it, I was looking at around this like $2.9, $2.8 level. It did kind of chop around there and then kept headed higher. I had been emphasizing, I think around that time, is that it's possible that it could keep going higher, but we kind of had to take things one step at a time. In this case, I guess just to break things down, guys, we have our handy target math here. Starting point of around $2.2. Again, we're just looking at the most recent move, and we're basically asking, where did this most recent move start? Clearly somewhere around $2.2. Resistance somewhere around $3. That gives us a difference of 80 cents. And then we just take that $3 level, we add that difference of 80 cents, and that gives us a target of $3.8. And you can see that Virtual basically just like hit that a couple days ago here on, I think on December 29th, so I guess yesterday. And it's possible that it could go a little bit higher. Maybe it'll go a little bit over this target. Maybe it'll go up to $4. Maybe it'll even go slightly above $4 to like, really throw off some people. And who knows, maybe if it gets above that target and it closes for a couple days and keeps headed higher, that's certainly possible. As I've been saying, guys, the risks are still skewed to the upside. I truly believe that. But with that being said, like, if you look at if we just zoom out a little bit here, and we're on the daily here, guys, like look at this chart. Like, do you think that there needs to be some kind of consolidation, at least a consolidation? It doesn't mean it has to crash, but I do think that Virtual, it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if it went up maybe a little bit higher and then it fell down and then started grinding for a little bit longer, the same way that it did. Sorry, the same way that it did back here. As you can see that it like rallied up and then it like chopped around and then kept going higher. And I think we're going to see the same thing. We had another like higher. We're probably going to see a chop around maybe for even longer than it did before. And then it's going to continue headed higher. That's completely possible, guys. But just do keep in mind that, there's a lot of hype. A lot of people are talking about this. A lot of people are using it. It reminds me a lot of like this pump.fun hype. And I don't think that this AI agent stuff is going to last for too much longer, if I'm being honest, guys. You always have to ask yourself, don't get obsessed with the narrative, what the narrative is now. Just ask yourself what the narrative is going to be after. And it's easy to forget, guys, that even these institutional investors, even those guys that you listen in the podcast, that they're all experts and whatever, they're also aping into what's going on now, because they're also itching to make money just like we are. But if you want to be really successful, and not to say that I'm like some crazy successful guy, I guess we'll see at the end of this bull market. But my strategy, or what I've learned, is that like the best strategy is not to think what's happening now, but what's going to come next. And as a quick little tangent, that this is what we kind of did with the Coin Bureau when it comes to quantum computing. We saw pretty earlier this year that quantum computing cryptos would probably rally quite a bit, that this was going to be the next thing after AI, and now that's becoming the next narrative. And I still don't think that quantum computing narrative is done. So that's my little bit of alpha here right at the beginning, but of course there'll be more alpha at the end. And with that being said, guys, you might have noticed we were using Bybit there. The Coin Bureau deals page is up to $60,000 in rewards, which is not too shabby. Of course, you do have to deposit quite a bit of money and do quite a bit of trading to take full advantage of that. But thankfully, guys, we also have deals on other exchanges like Blowfin, OKX, KuCoin, and Binance, where you can get trading fee discounts. And as I've been saying, guys, like these trading fee discounts will help you out a lot, even if you don't have a lot of money, even if you're just trading with a few $1,000, if you're doing that frequently enough, these trading fee discounts will help you out a lot, and it'll really take the edge off. It'll save you $5, $10, $50 here and there. I know this from experience. And the exchange gets a new user, you get a trading fee discount, and we get a kickback of those fees. And so it's like a win-win-win for everyone, and that's kind of how the Coin Bureau makes money. So there you go. The more you know. With that being said, guys, let's jump in here to Hyperliquid. This is actually a pretty interesting crypto in my opinion. opinion, and one that's and I guess it kind of ties in quite nicely to FTX. I was actually doing research for Hyperliquid. A little bit of a spoiler for those of you who are watching now. The Coin Bureau is like the main channel. We're going to be doing a deep dive into Hyperliquid. I was doing some research for that, and basically it's a decentralized exchange, like very focused on futures. They also offer some spot trading pairs now, but it's basically like I don't want to use this term, but similarly to the AI agents thing, but I would say that Hyperliquid is kind of like a decentralized FTX. Like there's even similarities in terms of the founder, that he had like a trading firm, like market maker, same like Alameda Research. There's a lot of parallels there, and you guys will see in the review. But with that being said, it's definitely one that's really interesting. A lot of people have been trading on there. It's one of these things where I do think that a lot of the hype now is just something that the people are really just going crazy about. In the short term, I don't think that this rally is going to be sustained. We can actually turn over to the chart here. You can see that it's basically been up only. Let me open it up a little bit here more for you guys. You might be able to see here that it's basically been going up only, and the pattern is not looking too hot right now. But with that being said, guys, of course we have to basically listen to the charts and what the charts are telling us. Of course, here we're on the daily, as always, and if we just use our simple target math here, we can see that the starting point is of this most recent move. I mean, like, it's still chopping in this range basically, but the bottom of that range is around $24. The upper bound is somewhere around $32. Of course, there's a difference of $8, and that would give potentially the Hype coin a target of $40. But the thing is, guys, that as you can see, like, it's already kind of sitting at this support level around $27. And of course, even to those of you who aren't super familiar with technical analysis, you might notice like this doesn't look like a very good pattern. It actually looks a little bit like a head and shoulders. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if Hype was to fall down to this $24 starting point and possibly fall even lower before going higher. Especially because when I was doing the research, I couldn't really find, and I'm not finished the research yet, but I couldn't find any like clear demand driver for the Hype token, because there's zero gas on the Hype on the Hype I guess chain, on the Hyperliquid chain. So that's the kind of thing. Is like, okay, like, this token isn't used for fees. You can't really stake it. So like, what is it used for, right? It's just kind of like a very speculative tool. Like, the exchange is great. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not dissing the Hyperliquid exchange. It's fantastic. I signed up. I played around with it a little bit. It's excellent. Same like Virtuals. Like, it's no dissing the platform. Like, it's a quality product. But the thing is that the token, the tokens was not looking too hot. With that being said, though, guys, I do think that, again, the risks are skewed to the upside. So if Hype does get above this resistance level of $32, it wouldn't surprise me at all if it goes for that $40 target, and that would be a 25% gain from that resistance level. But I wouldn't, try and be too cheeky and start like counting and scratch and think about those gains from this level, because it is kind of like a pretty critical level. And I do think that there's a chance that Hype is going to roll over again, because it's one of these things where it's like, how many people do you think are going to go out of their way to use a decentralized exchange for perpetual futures? Like, I know that there's quite a few people who do that, but like, realistically, like, most of these people already have accounts on centralized exchanges, and there's no real reason for them to go use a DEX. But anyway, guys, but it's a very interesting crypto. But I guess, long story short, just be careful with Hype if you're holding it now or thinking of like getting in, or you just got in. It's really at a critical level. It could fall lower, but it could go higher. We're just gonna have to wait and see. If it falls below this support, don't be surprised if it falls straight down to $24. And if it doesn't hold $24, then it could fall a lot lower, probably around to $15. But like, again, we'll take things one step at a time. And for now, it's basically in the middle of this range, and we're just going to wait and see what it does next. And this brings me, guys, to the FTT token. So you guys might remember, this is one that we were covering early on, at least I was covering early on here on the channel. It's very interesting because a lot of the FTT price action has been related to the FTX bankruptcy process. And I've been saying that, like, I think that there's actually some juice in this crypto. I think it can continue pumping. And I had been tracking that a couple times, and I was showing you guys, even in my past technical analysis, that like I was actually pretty spot on, even in terms of the specific catalysts. So in this case, I'm going to make another bold prediction. Not really a bold prediction. It's pretty straightforward. For those of you who didn't hear, FTX is going to start refunding creditors January 3rd, which I believe is this Friday. But like, in any case, in the next couple days, FTX is going to start refunding creditors, and as soon as we get news of those first refunds going out, I actually have a feeling that that's probably going to mark the local top for FTT. I don't see a reason for FTT to keep going higher after FTX starts refunding people. With that being said, guys, there is one catalyst to keep in the back of your mind. This is a really crazy one, and maybe it's also counts as alpha, but there have been rumors going around that Joe Biden might pardon Sam Bankman-Fried. And I know it sounds crazy, but like, when Sam Bankman-Fried got whatever it was, 25 years in prison, I was kind of thinking, I'm like, there's no way they're gonna like let him sit in there for that long. I do think there was a lot of sketchy stuff going on with FTX, not just in terms of like money laundering and whatever, but I do think that his family was very well connected connected politically. He was donating a lot to politicians. I know that a lot of those donations were returned and stuff like that, but let's be real, guy. Like this guy, like Sam Bankman-Fried was meeting with these politicians and like, taking pictures with them. Like he was on good terms. His family's on good terms with these political elites. Do you think that they're just going to let him sit and rot in a prison cell? Maybe. But if, there's just a part of me, especially with the amount of pardons that Biden is doing, if FSBF gets pardoned, then I do think FTT is headed higher, and I guess I should go over to the charts by this point. But I guess I'll outline the two scenarios here. The first one, let's just say if there's no pardon, nothing, the distribution starts later in the next couple days here on January 3rd, then I do think that FTT will hit this target of around $4.5. It already kind of hit that earlier in December, and of course the target math here is quite simple. Again, we look at like where did this most recent move start, somewhere around $2.5. Resistance is somewhere around $3.5. We have a difference of $1, and we basically take the resistance and we add the difference of $1, and we get a target of $4.5. It's super simple stuff, guys. It doesn't have to be complicated. Of course, some of these indicators, like more complicated ones, will help if you're really refined. But if you're just like swing trading on the daily, not going too crazy, if you're someone who's actively trading like every single second of the day, of course, there's you can check out Aaron and Mariano for that. Like they're actual experts. But here it's like if you're just swing trading altcoins and just curious to see where they're headed next, support, resistance, and these targets is super simple, and it's surprisingly accurate. Like of course you do see some deviation around the levels, but anyways, guys. In the absence of Sam Bankman-Fried being pardoned, what I do think is going to happen, I'll zoom out a little bit here so you guys can get a little bit of a better vantage point. Let me just reset the chart here so you can actually see what's going on. This is the price action we've seen from FTT over the last year, like almost exactly over the last year. And so we have two scenarios here. So the first scenario is that we're going to get kind of like a double top, that we see like a rally. Maybe it'll even go above $4.5. Maybe it'll go to like $5 or $5.5 or something. Hit that previous high from like December of last year, and then we'll get a double top, and then it just like collapses back down to zero the same way it did, the same levels it was at, back in October. So it would fall all the way back down to $1. So that's one scenario, is that we go up. And then it crashes down. It's a double top pattern. That's one scenario. The second scenario, which is, again, I think is possible, is that it goes up to this, $5.5 level and whatever. And then, or like, around $5, let's say, for $4.555, and then Sam Bankman-Fried gets pardoned, and then it just explodes higher, and then, and then we potentially see a scenario, and as crazy as it sounds, that it starts potentially, rallying all the way back to like those previous levels of around, $15, $20. And that sounds insane, but just consider a scenario where Sam Bankman-Fried is pardoned, and then he says like, I will, because you guys might remember this, that after Sam Bankman, or I think it was just before Sam Bankman-Fried was arrested, or maybe it was after, or maybe during the whole time. I honestly can't remember, guys. It was a few years ago. But just off the top of my head, and I'm sure a lot of you remember this too, that Sam Bankman-Fried was basically promising, he's like, I will revive FTX, right? Like he was saying like, I can save it. The exchange isn't dead. I can like, I can start it all over. I can make it all back in one trade, classic kind of like meme. But do you guys really think that kind of, do you think that sentiment has gone away? I don't think so. I think that Sam still wants to like restart FTX and try it again. So this idea, like if he comes back and says like, oh yeah, I'm going to restart FTX, and you might think, well, how the hell is he going to do that? And again, I don't know what the details are, and I don't know how it works in terms of FTT, but there could be a case where it's like, oh, like FTT holders, I don't know, form some kind of DAO, and they form like an FTX 2.0 DAO, and like, because this token actually has a market capitalization in like the billions, of course it's not worth that amount of money. If you actually sold that FTT, you wouldn't get that amount of money back. But there could be a kind of like a similar thing to like with Bitfinex, like what they did once upon a time, where Sam could say like, hey, like we're going to kind of crowdfund it using this FTT token. We're going to revive FTX, now that I'm out. And that could see a scenario where FTT actually recovers, which would be absolutely insane. I don't think that's going to happen, guys. Like, let me be clear. Like the chance of that's probably like 5% or less, especially when we factor in like him restarting. I think he would probably just like want to lay low and not, be in the public eye at all. But with that being said, guys, like just do keep in mind that crypto is very crazy, and really crazy things can happen. So if we see FTT like go to $4.5, $5, and then you sell, and then SBF is I mean, apologies for my language, but it's just insane. If he gets pardoned, okay? If he gets pardoned, then it could go much higher, and I just need to put that warning out there. For those of you who who've been maybe riding this wave ever since we were looking at it, and like when we were analyzing FTT, I mean, and maybe you're sitting in like some nice profits, and you're thinking, oh yeah, like you're saying that I should sell around this level, which I'm not saying that. This is just my personal analysis, as I said at the start of the video. But if you do take profits, because you were watching my video and you thought that, oh, like I'm going to take profits because that's where he said is like where it's going to top out, and then it keeps headed higher. Like, don't come screaming at me because I warned you. that there's two scenarios here again. Either it's going to collapse, all the way back down to $1, in which case you're going to lose whatever it is, 90, 80, 90% of your profit, or is going to keep headed higher because SPF gets pardoned and whatever. Full disclosure, guys, like the way, I guess my I guess like a personal take, the way that I'm kind of playing this possibility is I literally just put a bet, like in Polymarket. There's actually there's a betting market where you can bet on whether SPF will be pardoned or like who Joe Biden will pardon, and I just put like $50 into that or like $100 into that. You know what I mean? Like I don't mind if that goes to zero, and if it goes up, then awesome, I'll make like 20x my money. And like this is in my opinion, that would be a better way to play it than like trading something like FTT. There's it's really interesting in cryptos. There's all these different trades, but there's different ways that you can express them, right? You can go long, you can go short, you can hold spot, you can bet in the futures markets, or in the predictions market, sorry. So yeah, super interesting stuff. Anyways, guys, with all that being said, that brings me over to the Coin Bureau Club, which of course I need to shill at the end of every single video here. That's where we do deep dives into promising altcoins every single week. The way that we pick these altcoins is basically that our members will vote on the ones that we review, and the ones that we pick is like it's like a combination of altcoins that we find and the altcoins that our members suggest. We also have a research feed where we're posting insights every single day. Like I'm kind of like the stuff that I ramble about here. That's the stuff I'm posting in the research feed, but of course I do it in a lot more detail with a little bit more evidence to back it up. Let's say we showcase our personal crypto portfolios. I actually did a portfolio update today. Guy did his, I think, a few days back, and I think Kevin and some other members of the team, like recently, basically like just heading into the end of the year, we made a few tweaks there, and we also have an exclusive deals page where you can basically get discounts on these like super awesome like crypto analytics platforms. And we also have a members Discord where you can come and like discuss things with us and like join a pretty awesome community. We have a couple thousand people there, I think now, like over 1,000, and in the Discord specifically. Not everyone uses the Discord, which is super odd. It's like, why don't you use it anyway? Of the members that do use the Discord, we have like over 1,000 in there, and it's a really awesome community, and we're sharing lots of alpha about altcoins and stuff like that, and people asking us questions, and I'm doing technical analysis on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other stuff every single day. So it's a great load of fun, and a lot of people who do join the Coin Bureau Club, they say that the Discord is kind of like the biggest reason for kind of sticking around and staying there. With all that being said, and I will say, one of the alpha, I'm pretty sure, again, I to be honest, I haven't looked too closely into it, but when I was looking around some discussions in Discord, there were actually a few people that identified the Virtuals protocol a long time before it started pumping, and quite a few people made money off of that. I wasn't one of them, but some of our kind of like most diehard members, who are like really deep into the weeds the same way that we are, they were doing research and finding all these really awesome like AI cryptos, and they found like Virtuals really early. So this is the type of stuff that you can find in our members Discord, basically. With that being said, guys, of course, it's time for some I guess additional alpha here at the end of the video. And as I was mentioning before, guys, you might recall that the FTX is going to be refunding creditors starting in the next couple of days here on Friday, I believe. And what you guys might not know is that a lot of these investment firms that had money in FTX, they're actually thinking of putting that money back into Sol and Solana's ecosystem. And this is a headline here back from October from The Block, where one of these investment funds says that they're going to reinvest back into Solana's ecosystem. And it kind of makes sense, guys, because a lot of FTX users, like FTX is really closely related with Solana, and then after FTX collapsed and a lot of Solana cryptos collapsed, and a lot of these cryptos are now kind of like trading at a huge discount. The really interesting thing in this case, guys, is that a lot of these investment firms, when they lost that money, they kind of like wrote it off as a loss, right? Like it was like a tax loss for them. And they were never expecting to get that money back, but they did. So it's kind of like this large amount of money, in some cases, like billions or hundreds of millions of dollars. Like they got all this money back, and they're like, what do I even do with it? It's like, well, I guess I'll just invest back into what I had, which was a lot of like Sol and like these Solana altcoins. So don't be surprised that over the next, I think the distribution is going to take 60 days. So don't be surprised that over the next month or two that we're going to see Sol and cryptos and Solana's ecosystem do extremely well. So just don't be surprised at all. And of course, I do hold some really nice Solana blue chips in my portfolio. And of course, you can find those by becoming a member of the Coin Bureau Club, which, in case it wasn't clear enough, you can do using the link in the description. With all that being said, guys, if you did make it this far, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, ping that notification bell, and I'll see you in the next one.